In Python, there's a special type of data object called a dictionary object. Now, it is not unique to Python, but it is a special type that's a little bit different than what most people have worked with, especially if they're new to programming. So this is how a dictionary object works. It's made up of two parts, what's known as a key, and the other part is known as a value. On the left-hand side of my colon is the key. On the right-hand side is a value, and it can be any data type that I want. In this case, I'm using strings for both of them. The way this works is we reference a value to a key. It makes it really easy to look up a value based upon a key. This way, for example, with a phone book, I have a person's name and then I have their phone number. And so if I want to know the phone number for a person, I can simply say phone book and in square brackets, give the key. Here's a simple example. When I run this, notice that it only gives me the value, not the key, just the value. This is for both of them. This is kind of similar to the way an array works, but it's also different because I'm not looking at the individual indexes. My indexes now have a meaningful name associated with it. I'm going to comment out these lines real quick, and I want to try something just a little bit different. What happens if I try to get the element based upon the index? Well, if I run my script again, you'll notice I get an error. Indexes do not matter for a dictionary object, only the key. And if the key is not found, because the key can be at different types of values as well, but if the key is not found, you will get this error that's called a key error, and it's just a type of exception that's thrown. If you want to prevent this error from appearing, you'll need to use a try except block in order to catch the exception to figure out what you're going to do when it occurs. Adding elements to a dictionary object is very simple. I have an existing object, and I'm going to go and specify a new name. So this is a new key, and I'm going to put a value in it. When I run this, you'll see that my value can now appear. I can reference it since it automatically added that key. I don't have to use anything like append or insert because remember, the indexes don't matter, so we're not adding things to the end. It's being stored internally in its own method that's right now hidden from us. So this is a very effective and simple way to work with it. In the same manner, I can update any value in my dictionary by referencing the same key. In this example, let's say I made a mistake in typing it in, so I want to change the phone number to be 887. If I run the script again, notice that my first print statement, I have the original phone number, and then all I had to do was reference that key, use the assignment operator in order to set a new value. And in my second print statement, I have the updated value. So it's very easy to add and update elements. But what happens if we want to delete an element? Well, there's an easy way. There is a delete command, very similar to if you're using a list, you want to delete an element from a list, you can delete an element from a dictionary. You simply specify the key that you want to remove. In this example, we have our dictionary set up. James is our first element, and then I delete him and his value. When I delete that key and value pair, I go try to print out, I should get an error. When I run this, notice I get that key error that the key James is not found. Here in this example, I want to start with an empty dictionary, and then I can add elements. This would be very common if I was, for example, getting a lot of input from users. So I have a sample dictionary. I simply specify sample as my variable name, equals, and then I use an empty braces. By putting the set of braces, I define this as a dictionary object. It's just not holding anything yet. So it's a little bit different than the examples we've seen previously, but pretty similar too. In my second line, I simply add an element to my dictionary object. I specify the key, and I add a value, just as we've seen before. And this works perfectly. In this example, notice I've changed the way I've written my dictionary object. This works exactly the same way. It's just easier for me as a developer to write and update my own code. So a lot of times you'll see people do this because it makes it easier to find the individual keys and values associated with them. But what I really want to show you is how I can iterate over my dictionary object. It's very similar to how I iterate over a list or a tuple. I'm going to use a for loop. In my for loop, I normally specify an element that I'm going to get. Well, with the dictionary object, what you're actually going to get is the key. And that's going to be very important because I have a key that I can then reference from my dictionary object. You notice on my print statement, I have the key and I'm just going to use it to print out by concatenating it with another string. But then I access my dictionary object, and instead of having to hard code in a key, I'm using my variable name. And because I'm using a variable, it will change for me. And that makes it a lot more powerful to use. And that's really important when you deal with a large complex application. So if we go and run this, you'll notice that all my keys appear, colon, space, and then the value that's associated with that key. Then we move on to the next line as we iterate over our dictionary line by line through our loop. So that's just a real quick way of learning how you can use a dictionary object in Python.